Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the world. A message of peace, hope, and unity were made by Pope Francis during his two-day trip to Egypt. Both Pope Francis and the Coptic Orthodox Pope Tawadros II signed a declaration on common baptism, making mixed marriages between Catholics and Orthodox easier. The Pope also had a positive experience meeting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, a devout Muslim who is working to protect Christians from ISIS. Pope Francis has supported Egypt's efforts to confront Islamic militancy, believing Egypt has a special role to play toward regional peace and defeating terrorism. Pope Francis also established a stronger relationship with Al-Azhar University, the world's highest authority in Sunni Islam, emphasizing peace and nonviolence, a message which, according to some experts, has the potential to change the mentality of some Muslims. The Pope also met with Egyptian seminarians, priests, and religious, encouraging a life dedicated to Christ, the living hope, and to instill that hope into the poor, disabled, and disadvantaged. In news from Rome now, the Knights of Malta have elected a new lieutenant of the Grand Master for a one-year period to work on reform of the order. In a press release, the order announced Fra Giacomo Della Torre as the new lieutenant charged with addressing potential institutional weaknesses, as well as focusing on strengthening the order's spiritual life and on efforts to increase the number of its professed members. Born in Rome, Della Torre has been a member of the order since 1985 and held several prominent roles in the order's hierarchy. And Della Torre's election closes a difficult chapter in the order's history and tensions that led to Grand Master Fra Matthew Festing's resignation January 24th at the behest of Pope Francis, who had established a commission to investigate his removal of the order's Grand Chancellor. The Knights of Malta have 13,500 members, as well as 80,000 volunteers and 25,000 medical professionals, providing relief and humanitarian aid in 120 countries. Looking now at news from the Vatican. Before reciting the Regina Coeli prayer in St. Peter's Square this past Sunday, the Pope took some time to address the anti-government protests in Venezuela, which have turned deadly. The Pope appealed to the government and all components of Venezuelan society to avoid any more forms of violence, to respect human rights, and to seek a negotiated solution to the grave humanitarian, social, political, and economic crisis. The country has descended into chaos after years of food shortages and economic turmoil under embattled President Nicolas Maduro's government. Protests began after March 29th when the Venezuelan Supreme Court ruled to dissolve the country's parliament. Although the Supreme Court restored parliament's authority after local and international outcry, protests against Maduro's government escalated, resulting in nearly 30 deaths as of April 29th. Catholic News Service has more from Venezuela.
Han perdido la vida 26 venezolanos, 4 adolescentes y 22 adultos.
Hacer un minuto de silencio en homenaje a nuestros hermanos que fueron asesinados.
I, for example, I'm here. I'm 24 years old and I refuse to leave the country. My entire family is here. My dead are here. My future is here, and I want it to be that way. That's why I'm here, and I'll continue to be here until we see a change, or at least until one of the points we are demanding is fulfilled.
Es muy lamentable que ustedes nos disparen.
The people lost access to medicine, lost access to food, and feel that this is the final moment. The only thing that remains is indignation and the government's violent response. What it did was to feed the people more, because the images have been extremely outrageous for the majority of those that support a peaceful process of transition, of a call for elections. The response of the government was excessive, brutal, and the response that you have today in the street, after weeks and weeks of repression, sends the people to march, and the people continue marching.
A Vatican delegation led by Archbishop Claudio Maria Celli tried to mediate an end to the conflict. During a news conference with journalists on the flight to Rome after his visit to Egypt, Pope Francis said that while there is something moving forward, negotiations are still very much up in the air. And finally in the news, an incredible story to tell you about. Over the weekend, severe storms tore through Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas that killed at least 13 people in 3 states. Members of St. John the Evangelist Parish in Emory, Texas, were hosting a dinner Saturday evening, April 29th, honoring the parish's graduating high school seniors in conjunction with the parish's Knights of Columbus Council and its Ladies Guild. During the event, they got word that a tornado was heading right at them, so approximately 45 people moved to the church hallway. About 30 seconds later, the tornado hit. At one end of the hallway, the parish deacon was leading the rosary. At the other end, a parish volunteer was leading the Divine Mercy Chaplet. As the group huddled in the hallway, they could hear the destruction going on around them. After the tornado passed, the group went outside and saw the church was completely destroyed, except for the hallway. The pastor, Father Victor Hernandez, called it a miracle. Parishioners celebrated Mass as usual on April 30th, but outside on the parish property. Father Hernandez said that they will come out of this stronger than ever, and they will have a new church. Well, that is all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.